it's Ariel. So I realized I hadn't made an actual makeup related video in a really long time, so I think I was well overdue to make another one. I was definitely lacking in that department lately, so I thought with spring finally being kind of in full swing, I thought why not do a spring makeup look. And this one is definitely a little bit more of an exciting look for me to do because it incorporates a lot of bright color. So if you want to see my take on a kind of fresh, easy spring makeup look, then definitely keep watching. Okay, so this is just my bare face. I do have a few spots here. I have a couple right here on my chin, one up here on my forehead. What can you do? So I always like to keep my base like skin makeup really simple. And first of all, before I actually start to apply any of the makeup, I always like to apply a primer, and I'm going to be using the Revlon Photoready color correcting primer. I've realized ever since I started using a primer that my makeup just lasts a lot longer, and also I'm using the viewfinder as like my mirror, so if I keep looking over there, then that's why. Okay, so now starting off with like the actual makeup that I have, I always like to start off with a highlighter, and I'm going to be using my favorite highlighter, which is the Doll 10 highlighter in the shade Champagne, and I like to put it underneath my eye area specifically. I feel like if I add a little bit of highlighter before I do concealer, I just feel like it brightens up my overall eye area. So that's it for highlighter. And then I like to go in with my concealer, and I'm going to get the concealer and just kind of pat it underneath my eye area. I like to go in just and pinpoint certain areas on my face where I really want a little bit more coverage, because I do have a lot of redness on my face in general, like in the outer corners here. So now to try and specifically cover those blemishes that I have, I'm going to be using my e.l.f. professional concealer brush, and it's just a teeny tiny little brush that just really is good for pinpointing those blemishes and covering them up. I think for this look it's like totally fine if you want to use like a BB cream or a foundation in addition to the concealer and all that stuff, but I'm just going to try and keep this as like kind of like fresh and natural as possible, because I feel like for a spring look that's just kind of like one of the main focuses that I'm gonna try and go for with this whole look. So now I'm gonna go in and kind of lock in all of my work that I just did with a finishing powder. And as you guys know, if you've seen me do other tutorials, I love finishing powders because I just really like how they don't add any extra color to your face, and they really help to combat shine throughout the day. So if you have kind of like oily skin or combination skin, a finishing powder is really good for that and helps you look more matte overall, I'd say. And it definitely helps your makeup stay on a lot longer as well. And the one that I'm using here is by Neutrogena. It's called the Neutrogena Shine Control Powder. And then I'm using the e.l.f. complexion brush. So to kind of warm up my face a little bit, I'm going to be using a bronzer, and this one is from Rimmel. It's their natural bronzer in the shade called Sunlight. And I'm going to be using an e.l.f. professional powder brush to do that. And then for right on like the apples of the cheeks, I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Golden Bronzer, which is a nice, very shimmery bronzer, so it acts as kind of like a highlighter at the same time as being a bronzer. So I like to just apply that to the apples of my cheeks very sparingly, and then going up kind of like the sides of the temples here, and then just a little bit on the forehead, and then just a little bit on the nose. And I think it adds a really nice flush of nice bronzy color. Okay, so now I have the whole like actual face makeup done, and now I'm going to move on to the eyebrows next. I'm going to start out with using my e.l.f. Wet Gloss Lash and Brow Clear Mascara, just to kind of keep my eyebrows in place and kind of shape them the way that I want them to go, and it just helps them stay in place longer all day really. So now that I have them in the general shape that I want them to be in, I'm going to go in and fill them in with the powder, and I always like to use my e.l.f. small angled brush for this, and of course I am using a palette from Sheercover called Modern Classics, and I'm using this medium brown matte color here, and that's what I always use to fill in my eyebrows. I always start in the middle and just do like little kind of short strokes or dashes. And then with what's ever left over, I'll go very, very lightly at the front because I don't want to apply too much product to the very front of my eyebrow because it might end up looking really like blocky and kind of unnatural. And then I get more product and just keep going, filling in towards the end part of my eyebrow. And I never go outside of the natural shape of my eyebrow. I try to keep it pretty contained with the shape that's already in there. And recently I've been adding an extra step to my eyebrow routine by including a kind of like, what do you call this, like a brow gel or brow mascara. So I've been using the Maybelline Brow Drama Sculpting Brow Mascara in the shade Soft Brown. When I use this, I focus it more on the front end of my eyebrows where I didn't fill them in quite as much. So now I'm going to actually move on into the eyes, so I'm actually going to bring you guys in a little bit closer. Okay, so the first thing I always do before I start anything to do with my eye makeup is I always curl my eyelashes first. So now I always go in with an eyelid primer. This one is from e.l.f. So then I just blend that in just a little bit. What I'm going to start out with is this nice little palette from Wet n Wild called Walking on Eggshells. I just think it has three really beautiful colors to choose from. I'm going to start off by using this color for the eyelid there, and it has almost like a rose gold kind of sheen to it once you actually apply it to your eyelid. So I just thought it was a really beautiful color to use for this look, and I'm going to be using just a regular eyeshadow brush from e.l.f. Using the same palette, I'm going to use the color that's for the crease, and then just using the same eyeshadow brush, I'm going to apply that into the crease area. So now I'm going to take a clean, fluffy blending brush and just try to blend out the edges there. Once you use a clean brush to kind of smooth out the edges, it'll all look really nice and give that more slightly hazy effect. I'm going to be using the Jordana Easyliner for eyes in the shade called Mint. I thought having a pop of this teal color would look really nice and kind of perfect for spring. So I'm just going to really carefully smudge this on the outer corner of my eyes. I'm going to kind of stop about halfway through my eyelid because that's just how I like to do my eyeliner. Now I'm going to do a slight wing, but nothing too dramatic. So I'm just going to try and plot out where I want the wing to be, probably right about there. And that's about all I'm going to do because since it's such a bright color, I really don't want to make it any more dramatic. So I'm going to just go over and try and match it up on the other eye. Just starting with the same thing, smudging it out on the outer corner here, and then fading it out into the middle. And once I think it looks even, then I'm going to go ahead and actually fill in the wing a little bit better. And so I'm going to move on to the mascara. I like to use two different kinds of mascaras, and I like to start off with this one from Covergirl as kind of like a base coat of mascara, and it is the Covergirl Lashblast Length Mascara. I really like using Covergirl mascaras as a base because I find that they really just hold the curl in my lashes really well. So then for the second coat of mascara, I'm going to be using the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes Mascara, and it's just a little sample size that I have here. So you can already see like a noticeable difference between both eyelashes there, or at least I can tell it's a big difference. Okay, so that is the mascara done. I really like this Tarte mascara. I think it just does a really great job for my lashes, and it just works really well for me. So that is the whole eye area done. So now I'm just going to finish it off with the final step, which is the lips. So like I mentioned earlier, I think that turquoise pairs really nicely with coral. So for the lips, I'm going to be wearing this lip butter from Revlon, and it is in the shade called Tutti Frutti, and it is basically just like straight up orange color. And since it is a lip butter and not like an actual lipstick, it's still kind of sheer, and it has a little bit of kind of like a nice sheen to it as well. I just think overall this is such a really nice pairing of colors going on, and I definitely am really liking the way that this turned out for sure. Okay, so this is the finished look. This is definitely something a little bit different for me just because of all the kind of like bright pops of color, but I think I did it in a way that's still subtle enough to the point where if you're someone who likes to wear neutral colors like I do, you wouldn't feel uncomfortable wearing these colors. And I hope that you guys really liked watching it too. I hope it's given you some kind of spring makeup inspiration, and if you did like it, give it a thumbs up as always, and of course leave me some comments down below because I always love to read your guys' comments and respond to them. And if you're feeling extra generous, definitely subscribe if you'd like to. And then also one last thing, I have a Twitter, so let's be friends over there. This is my Twitter right here. Definitely check that out if you can. It'll be sitting right there waiting for you. And also, thank you so much for all the support as usual. It means so much to me. So I will see you all very soon. Bye!